No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good afternoon, Winnipeg. Good afternoon, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this afternoon on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good afternoon, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Game number 82 of this 2021-22 regular season. A surprise to all of us that there's not a game number 83, i.e. a playoff game number 1, but that's okay. We'll persevere and go through it anyways. 81 of them down, one more to go, Dave M. It's good to see you on this Sunday afternoon. A little bit of some waterworks, a little bit of emotion, a little bit of some heavy hearts, of course, in the building tonight. And, watching at home, you can't help but get a little choked up. As the game was secondary, of course, in my mind, to the salute to who's a man who simply is just a gentleman. Sometimes you don't need a lot of words to sum up somebody. Dennis Bayak, simply a gentleman, and it was great to see him getting his just desserts on this afternoon's broadcast.
Yeah, I agree with you, Drew, and it was very nice in that regard, right? They allowed him to read the lineup out. They did that in advance of the game, and so he got to read kind of gave an individual speech to the players, and I thought that was really nice. So there was a lot of positivity with what Dennis was able to do today, I thought, and so and I thought the broadcast TSN did a very good job in that regard in terms of bringing people in from the outside to give Dennis some nice accolades, some nice comments, and I just thought throughout the course of the broadcast they did a nice job. They allowed him and Kevin to it was how appropriate is it, I think, actually, the fact that they finished his tribute in the second period and he hadn't even finished. He's like, Kevin, you might have to take over. And Kevin didn't actually pick up on the cue, so Dennis he was just kind of going through the thanks and all that, and then next thing you know, he's announcing the Kraken goal. So I thought that was appropriate that he just rolled right into broadcasting in his play-by-play. But yeah,
probably was able to keep doing it that way because get right back into the swing of things. Not getting too choked up in the middle of the broadcast or anything.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're gonna have Dennis on tomorrow's wrap-up show to end the season, so that'll be a nice way to for everyone to kind of join us and to talk to Dennis and send him messages and all that stuff. So we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to the end of the season chat with Dennis for sure.
Exactly right. So tomorrow evening, again, we'll remind you throughout the course of tonight's post-game show or this afternoon's post-game show. Tomorrow evening, 8 p.m., our Jets season wrap-up show. Of course, there's tons of Jets content to come as the Saturday show is not going anywhere. So join us tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Dennis will join us as well, as we'll talk to Dennis and talk about his great career and talk about this season from the Jets perspective and everything else. So mark that in your calendars. If you have a day timer still, maybe you have an online calendar, whatever it might be sure to join us tomorrow evening for that special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Dave M., the game, as we said, secondary. I don't know if you believe in symmetry or anything, but if I recall correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, the last time the Jets missed the playoffs, and I'm not talking about the play-in series against Calgary, when they, in an 82-game season where they missed the playoffs, they finished also with a 4-game winning streak to end the year. And that was the year they won the draft lottery to move up to number 2 to draft Patrick Laine. So obviously there's no direct correlation. That doesn't mean anything is definitely going to happen. But if you tend to believe in symmetry, if you tend to believe in omens, if you tend to believe that past occurrences dictate future occurrences, then that is what happened a number of years ago when it came to the Winnipeg Jets winning 4 in a row to end a disappointing regular season. Certainly the case this year with their 4th straight victory on home ice. Ultimately meaningless, but good nonetheless to give the fans something to cheer about at the end of a very different season.
Yeah, and I talked about this earlier, Drew, that on the last show, which felt like a year ago, but was probably just only 24 hours ago. And it was that idea that there was a final fan appreciation day. They were able to give away a lot of, stuff to the fans, like signed sticks. They did the jersey off your back as the game ended. And so that's kind of been, bringing that back. I thought that was a good one that they brought back for the fans. But I mean, you're right. It's ultimately, does the game have any meaning? No. I mean, yeah, you're right. I definitely thought of 2016 when they got the Patrick Laine. They finished the right way, and they got the Patrick Laine draft as a result of randomized balls, not because they played the right way at the end of the season. But regardless, it'll be, hey, Drew. Let's put it this way: you gotta create a little bit of history. So if they do it again, if they're able to jump the queue and jump ahead in the draft, then maybe you have something. But just one time, I would put it more up to randomized ball act.
Yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee of anything at all. But in any event, I thought it was a little bit interesting that they won those 4 in a row. Most of those games were on the road; they weren't home games, and then they won 4 in a row to end this season as well. Undoubtedly a disappointing year, but at least for the home fans, they get to end it on a good note. And it didn't look like for a while there, Dave, that it necessarily was going to end on a good note after that dominant second period by the Kraken. But I think they were all too happy to let the Jets sort of back into the game in the third period, and the Jets were able to take advantage. And it's fitting that Kyle Connor finally gets the game-winning goal comes off the stick of Kyle Connor, number 47 on the season, for a guy who really had so many chances in the last few games that it's hard to believe he didn't end up getting to 50. But a tremendous year for Kyle Connor, and it is apropos that he gets the final goal in the Jets 2021-2022 season.
Yeah, and that game-winning goal will tie him with Mark Scheifele for third on the game-winning goals list. That would be Jets 2.0. Wheeler is first, 35. Scheifele second, 34. And and he ties Mark Scheifele. He's tied with Mark Scheifele for second, I should say, in game-winning goals. So he's been very impressive what he's done. He, before the game began, he was the selection for most 3 stars. He was the 3-star winner, and that's not really a huge surprise given how productive he's been this season. So 93 points, the new benchmark, which I suspect, to be honest with you, that Kyle Connor will be the one who's breaking his own record next season potentially. So he most likely would have had 50 had he not missed those 3 games due to COVID. But so there were some individual successes that you would celebrate at the end of the 21-22 season for the Jets.
Certainly, and another one of those individual successes is going to unrestricted free agent, pending unrestricted free agent, because the Jets, boy, they screwed the pooch on this one. Eric Comrie gets the victory in tonight's game. I believe Dennis said his 10th of the season, if I'm not mistaken. And the Jets, just for reasons that are inexplicable and a complete mishandling of an asset, a guy who should be an RFA, because the Jets did not play him enough, and he did not get enough games and enough minutes in some of those games, he's actually going to be a Group 6 unrestricted free agent. And Eric Comrie has showed, at least in my perspective, and I suspect you agree with me, Dave, that he is certainly capable of being an NHL backup goaltender. Now, the Jets will probably do what they can to re-sign him, but it's going to now cost them more money than had they been able to hold on to him and keep him as a restricted free agent, which they did not do strictly because of asset mismanagement. 100%. That is the situation here. I don't know who wears the blame for that. I don't know if it's interim head coach Dave Lowry. I don't know if that's general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff. I don't know if that's a combination of the two of them. I suspect it's a organizational wide misuse of an asset, but they certainly are going to now have to shell out a little bit more for Eric Comrie if they choose to re-sign him, and every other team in the league could get that opportunity at him as well if he goes to the proverbial July 1st. I don't even know when free agency actually starts this season.
I think it's July 13th.
There you go.
Okay. But the point is, I mean, it's not even, I mean, first of all, we've been calling for Eric Comrie to have more starts. It would have made a lot more sense. It would have given Connor Hellebuck some rest. I mean, look, Connor Hellebuck's numbers were still good. It wasn't, this season didn't go because of Connor Hellebuck by any stretch of the imagination, or Eric Comrie. They were both more than adequate for what they needed to do. Just the team wasn't good enough defensively in front of them. So, I mean, you're not wrong, Drew, and I don't know where the blame would lie, whether it would be a coach. I mean, I would imagine Kevin Cheveldayoff or Larry Simmons, one of those guys, would have known the status of Eric Comrie and what he would have needed. So, and you don't have that conversation, 10 days to go, 10 games to go. You have that conversation months ago, and you try and plan out a vision for Eric Comrie to get him those starts to ensure that you can keep his number where you want it to be. Because, I mean, look, the Jets were a cap team this year, right? And so if you're going to have to pay a guy an extra $500,000, $1 million, whatever the number is going to be,
difference.
There's a big. That's why you didn't keep Laurent Brossoit, because you couldn't afford him anymore, even though you liked him as your backup goaltender. So I think they like Eric Comrie a lot as their backup goaltender. The question for me is, are they going to be able to afford him? Now, the Jets contract situation is going to look a lot different next year, but at the same time, they're still going to have to, like you, to your point, which is a good one. They're going to have They're going to have to pay him more money than they would have. And that from a cap perspective is not ideal.
Exactly, not ideal. Completely the case, and obviously we'll hear. So the way it's working tonight, post game, in terms of who's speaking on, in terms of the Winnipeg Jets, because typically garbage bag day is where they trot out a whole bunch of players. Well, this whole week has been the proverbial garbage bag week, as players have come out and spoken in groups all week long. So tomorrow is going to be very. It's not going to be quiet, but it's only Kevin Cheveldayoff who's speaking tomorrow. So after the game today. And again, you'll be able to hear all this audio on illegalcurve.com. So it's not like you have to go anywhere, and we'll be bringing you any newsworthy notes as the post-game show goes on. So you can check it out. Scheifele, Wheeler, Lowry. Who else is speaking today, Dave? Dave Lowry. And I think another player. I might be missing one. I'm not 100% sure who I'm missing there. Paul Stastny. They're all going to be speaking to the media after the game, so you can certainly stay tuned for that and keep it locked on illegalcurve.com as the latest news from that area comes. For those asking about Ezzy's situation, Ezzy is away from the program, as you can see. No word on his basement status, but the rumor is that it's not going great down there. But hopefully we'll send all the good wishes we can to Mr. Ginsburg. He'll be back for tomorrow night's end of season wrap up, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Dave, let's get into the goals in tonight's game. The Betway game recap is brought to you by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds, what are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Winnipeg Jets opened the scoring at the 3:47 mark. Morgan Barron, his second of the season, assist to Jansen Harkins. Two guys who are probably going to play a role for the Winnipeg Jets next season in the bottom of the lineup. And hopefully that's a bottom of the lineup that gets some more ice time than they have this year, because Morgan Barron and Jansen Harkins have both flashed. At times, when they've been given opportunities, you've seen some good things from them. Another instance of, should the Jets have used their depth players more often? Should they have used their fourth line more often? Well, I think you guys know what our opinion on that matter is. And Barron and Harkins and Tony Nato and Zach Sanford, if he was to come back, and David Gustafson, we know the names. These are all the guys who are going to be pushing for roster spots next season. And it's going to be incumbent on the coaching staff, whomever is on that coaching staff, for them to find a way to integrate these guys as more regulars in the lineup, contributors in the lineup, not necessarily 4-minute a game contributors, but actual guys who can the team can rely on to play some minutes, even against some of the tougher competition. And Barron and Harkins both combined for 2 points they each had 2 points in today's game. So certainly a good end to the season for both of those young players.
There's no question about it, Drew. And it's interesting because when Barron scored that goal, all I could think about was the Moose coaching staff are going to be licking their lips at the thought of this guy coming back down, having the experience with the Jets, and now be able to bring that and apply that to the Moose, a Moose club that seems to be rolling into the playoffs. So you add that. They'll be adding some other guys who haven't been playing because they've been dealing with bumps and bruises. So they've been having some guys on maintenance. And so, Morgan Barron, you're right, Drew. I mean, it becomes a function of timing and how much time these guys are getting on ice. And something we've talked about for a while is a Jets team that needs a fourth line, a Jets team that rolls 4 lines, because that's critical for a team's success, is to be able to not have to just rely on 1 or 2. Look, if you're chasing, I get it, and the Jets chased it quite a bit, but early in games, they didn't rely on those guys. And that to me was, a testament to them not having a lot of faith in them. And obviously, if you needed to, you especially because of the cap, you moved those guys and gave them a little more responsibility. And look, the reality is that just because a guy gets a responsibility doesn't mean he gets to keep that role unless he maintains it, unless he produces, right? So that's kind of the thing with especially with younger players. But we saw with Eric Comrie, right? Like he was given a role, and we talked about it with him last summer, right? About this idea of how excited he was, and he knew that just because he had quote been designated the backup, that didn't mean that he didn't have to go out and work his ass off. And again, you're a young guy who's been designated to be moving up in the lineup. Well, that doesn't mean you're not going to have to work even harder now to maintain that spot. So, there's a lot to like from Morgan Barron. He seems to have quite a bit, and like I said, I think him moving down and playing with the Moose for the playoffs, I think it's going to have a world of good for his pro career next year, and to get him ready for the next training camp and really have him feeling good about his game, because the expectation is this Moose team is going to want a fairly decent run. You never know what's going to happen, but it seems likely. And so every time these guys play these games and do that, they're going to gain experience, and it's going to be good for a player like Morgan Barron.
Absolutely, certainly going to be the case. And as you can see on the screen, or I had on the screen there before, Morgan Barron, Dylan Sandberg, they're going to go back to the Moose more than likely. Can't say for sure, but more than likely, they're certainly eligible, and they're planning on having a lengthy playoff run. Now, I want to ask people in the chat. I swear I saw this during one of the intermissions on the commercial for TSN, that TSN said on the screen, and maybe I was hallucinating, entirely possible. I could have sworn TSN flashed on the screen that they were going to be broadcasting some of the Moose playoff games. Did anybody else see that? Because I texted Dave, and Dave said that he wasn't necessarily watching at that exact moment. So if anybody else can verify what I saw, and or say, Drew, you need to seek medical help immediately, either way, I'm okay with that. But just let us know in the chat, as you've been helping us out through all of these 82 previous post-game shows that we've done this year. And don't worry, we're going to give you all a salute before we wrap up tonight's post-game show, because we've been doing it for you, and you've been helping us, and we've been helping you, and it's been a great fun throughout the entirety of this season. The Kraken, they all of a sudden took control of the game in the second period, Dave M. 1-0 for the Jets. You're thinking, okay, all is hunky-dory after 20 minutes. Boom, here comes Seattle. They decided they wanted to have a little bit of, there you go, Noah Lafort says, the Moose on TSN is happening. So I don't need to seek medical help immediately, or if I do, it's for a different reason altogether. Alex Wenberg on the power play tied it up at 1-1, 5:55 into the second period. Then Daniel Sprong, he got sprung, yuck, yuck, yuck. 12:24 of the second period, and then Riley Sheahan, 13:19. The Kraken went bang bang, a little less than a minute between their second and third goals. They had a 3-1 lead after 40 minutes, Dave M.
Yeah, there's no question about it, Drew, and it was kind of a buzzkill, because they're doing the tributes to Dennis, and the crowd seems to be into it, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, as Dennis would say, it was bang bang. And like I had mentioned earlier in the broadcast, all of a sudden his nice tribute goes from 2-1, and they're like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's 3-1. And I thought, ooh, that's tough waiting for them to go. And yeah, the Jets didn't have a lot going. They were outshot pretty heavily in that second period. They didn't really seem to have a lot of juice. It didn't seem to bode well. So it seemed to be like the only thing folks were going to have to focus on, really, in this game at least, was Dennis's final game, because it didn't look like the home side was going to give them much to cheer about based on the way the middle frame went.
Yeah, exactly right. And you're thinking, okay, that's a little disappointing, but it's kind of emblematic of how the entire season has gone. The Jets playing down to the level of their competition, which really would be sort of apropos for the previous 81 games of this regular season. But the Jets decided they wanted to end it on a high note, and they started the third period with guns a-blazing, as it were. Blake Wheeler with a little bit of a knuckle puck. Paul Stastny wins the faceoff. It's over to Wheeler. He doesn't get a ton of lumber on it, but he gets enough lumber on it to have it go dipsy doodle over Chris Dreger. And that made it 3-2 at the 4:49 mark. And Paul Stastny with the assist. And how appropriate that it comes off of a clean faceoff win for a guy who's just been such a great veteran and so efficient in the faceoff circle. He gets his 800th career point in the NHL on that assist in the goal by Blake Wheeler.
Yeah, and it seemed rather appropriate given the fact that they're very close, and so it's probably, I'm sure those two like the fact that they were able to, Stastny to Wheeler, and it gave the Jets a life. It gave the building some life, right? And suddenly it felt like the game isn't out of reach for Winnipeg, of course, because it's not like you're playing a juggernaut. You're playing Seattle, and so I think it was good because the last thing you'd want is a dud. Like, even though we talked about it before the game, as the broadcast began, Drew, that you didn't want the game was meaningless and it wasn't going to have any sort of relevance for next season. And you're not going to be like, well, I like this line. Maybe they'll play together again. I agree with what Harvey's saying. Smash the like button. But the reality is, you still wanted, for the fans' sake, to be able, and for Dennis's sake, to be able to have a final game that was going to be at least a nice little cherry on top of what's been a rather disappointing Sunday, if you will, for Jets fans. So, look, it was a little momentum, and it was, and the point was, and it was funny because what did they say on the broadcast? Is Dennis going to be able to go bang bang? So, I mean, that was the key, and it was kind of like all the Dennis isms that we've heard over the last 11 years, and for him to be able to get that opportunity in the game, I thought that was rather appropriate.
Exactly right. It took the Jets a little less than 3 minutes later to tie it up at 3-3. Dominic Toninato from Jansen Harkins and Morgan Barron, mentioned them after the opening goal for the Winnipeg Jets. When Barron and Harkins hooked up, this one is a nice pass from Harkins to Toninato, who gets a lot on the puck and is able to get it through Chris Driedger, and it's a 3-3 game. And, once that happened, you sort of felt like it was inevitable how this game was going to end, because the Jets, Seattle had some opportunities. I'll give them credit. They had some opportunities, and Eric Comrie had to be good in that third period. He had to be big in that third period and make some saves that he needed to make. And to his credit, he made those saves. And Toninato, to his credit, got the Jets back tied up at 3. Toninato with 7 goals on the season, 3 of them coming against the Seattle Kraken, as Dennis mentioned during the broadcast.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's what we've talked about all year long, right? I mean, you need contributions from every line, and look, obviously it's too little, too late at this point of the year to start, congratulating it, but or celebrating it. But the truth is, I mean, Toninato, 7 goals. I think his career high is, what was it, 5 or 6 coming into the season. So, so it eclipses that for him. But I mean, he didn't play much. He didn't play a lot of minutes, right? He got a little more than the average Bear because he did some PKing. But I think it's probably a testament to the stubbornness, I guess, of the coaching staff to not use their fourth line enough. And I'm not saying that their fourth line was a great fourth line by any stretch of the imagination, but you really didn't get much of a sense because of how little they played, right? I mean, how many times do we see, especially the wingers, because like I said, the center, oftentimes Toninato, he would play PK, so he'd get up to the 7-8 minute mark. But how many times do we see the wingers 3 minutes,
under 5 minutes?
Always under 5, right? So just not enough usage of the fourth line throughout the course of the year, and that's something I think this team is going to have to change if they plan on being more successful in the future.
Yeah, and Toninato's actually under contract for next year at $750,000. So I'm not saying he's guaranteed a spot. Certainly not the case. He's going to be in a battle for, that 11th, 12th, 13th forward sort of spot. But, by playing on the PK, he did add a little bit more value, I think, to his contract from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, and maybe has a bit of a leg up over some of the other guys who are RFAs this coming year. You look at the team, and there's guys who are going to be battling for those bottom 6 roles, and you can sort of pencil in some names at this point in time, or even in some cases maybe in erasable ink. But there's some guys who are going to be fighting tooth and nail, and some guys who are going to be have an uphill climb. Guys who maybe started the season well and then faded as the year went on. I'm thinking about a guy like Evgeny Svechnikov, who was found money for a little while. Is he going to be back? He's an RFA. But do the Jets elect to qualify him or not? Do they, if you're bringing back Svechnikov and you're planning on playing him in the lineup, well, that means, he's holding back a guy like maybe David Gustafsson from getting a spot. And from my perspective, it seems like Gustafsson would be ready to be at the NHL level for next year. So it'll be interesting to see how all those, a lot of focus on the top of the Jets lineup, especially among the forwards. Going to be a lot of focus regarding the bottom of the Jets lineup among the forwards as well, Dave.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that, Drew. I mean, this is it's a top to bottom audit, and it doesn't just include the players, but I mean, it's about the usage of the players, and for sure personnel has a big factor. But I mean, I think the coaching, the staff, the systems that they employ or don't employ sometimes. I think that's going to be, just as critical for figuring out how the direction of the franchise for next season.
Exactly right. It's going to be very interesting. As we know, all the latest Winnipeg Jets off-season news will be available here on illegalcurve.com. And as a reminder, even though the post-game shows might be going away, that doesn't mean we're going away. We'll be back every Saturday morning, as always, as you've come to expect for the past, 12, 13 years, however long it's been. I can't count that many. I don't have that many fingers, and I'm running out of toes, Dave, quite quickly. And we'll also pop up here or there whenever there's really, important breaking news, coaching staff. That's why we're doing a show tomorrow. We expect there's going to be some sort of newsworthy announcements coming out tomorrow. We'll be here 8:00 tomorrow night. You should be here with us as well. Dennis Bayak is going to be here with us. And then throughout the whole off season, whenever important things happen, we'll be back here on the YouTube channel. So just make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure the first website you visit every single morning and multiple times a day is illegalcurve.com, and you won't miss a minute of us. You'll know exactly when we're up. You won't miss a minute of Winnipeg Jets news. The final goal in this 2021-2022 season came at the 9:05 mark. Dave, the Jets went bang, bang, bang to take the victory tonight. Kyle Connor, his 47th of the season, assist to Pierre-Luc Dubois and Mason Appleton. And as we said before, completely appropriate that Kyle Connor gets the winner. Completely appropriate that Pierre-Luc Dubois gets an assist on it, as he got very close to his career mark in terms of points this season for the Winnipeg Jets. The two of them, Connor, Dubois, Ehlers, they are the future for this team and the present, to be perfectly blunt, along with other guys, Morrissey, etc. Those guys are going to be the guys who get the Jets out of the doldrums that were this season. And it's appropriate that Kyle Connor is the last goal scorer on this year.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Kyle Connor so much this season, and you're right, Drew. It is appropriate. It's appropriate. He gets the game-winning goal based on how much he's contributed to this team, and whether it's what we talked about with Weber, the idea that he's now stepped up as a more of a leader on this club and he's a more vocal player, but it's all over the place. Don't get me wrong. I still think Kyle Connor has to improve defensively. I think being on the PK has helped his defense, but I still think there's a lot of room. If you look at the numbers, there's still a lot of room for Kyle Connor in terms of improving defensively. So that becomes a systems thing, because I think from a player's perspective, he can, these guys can figure it out. They just they don't figure it out on their own. That's why, hence the reason why you have something called a coach, to get coached and and taught. And so
is that how that works?
Generally. So yeah, Drew, I agree with you. Appropriate that those two guys who formed a lot of chemistry this year, put the final nail in the season and won the game for Dennis, won the game for themselves, won the game for the fans, and sent folks home. Like I said, nobody's happy. People are still upset. People are aggravated based on how, the season was expected to go and how it did end up going. But, like I said, it's better that they were able to end it this way and at least give the fans something to be happy about versus the alternative, which would have been, some sort of, had they stunk it up the way they were in the second period, it'd be a different story.
That's right. Had they ended the season on a 4-game losing streak, it would have been more apropos. It would have been more befitting of how the previous, 78 games had gone. But in terms of the fans' perspective, the desire to cheer, as opposed to the requirement to boo, or the feeling of needing to boo, is better from the Jets' perspective. And that's how the Jets end the season. Winners of 4 in a row doesn't excuse the previous 78. Tonight's victory, 4-3 in Dennis Bayak tribute night, as I've just decided to start billing it. The Jets end the season with a W. This has been the Betway game recap. It's been brought to you by our friends at, wait for it, Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. We thank Betway for their support all season long. We thank all of our sponsors for the support all season long. We'll give them their plug, of course, towards the end of the show. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. We're going to give away another toque. We still got toques to give away for the hardest hitting comment. Dave and I will kibitz like only we can. Some commercials. You're not going to see them very often. Enjoy these ones. There is more, not just the commercial, folks. Hang tight. It's more of the Illegal Curve post-game show coming up next, live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Boys, finding parking on game day shouldn't take longer than the Minute Minute.
It shouldn't take longer than 1 minute?
Yeah, less than a minute? I spend at least 20 driving around to find street parking, or if I'm in a rush to the game, I'll shovel out 20 at a parkade.
You're both doing it wrong. There's this app called Grid Park. It lets you find and pre-book your parking spot on game days, and you can reserve your spot up to 1 month in advance. And guess how much you'll pay?
Tell me, Dave. You know I love a deal.
Ezzy, $5.
Come on, $5?
Yeah, and it's just 2 blocks from the arena.
The Grid Park app?
Yep, spelled GRYD Park. And you know what else?
There's more?
Our listeners get their first park free with the code FIRSTPARK.
Wow, so they just download the Grid Park app and pre-book their next game day spot for free?
Yeah, you got it, Ez. Promo code FIRSTPARK. Only on the Grid Park app.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Legal Curve post-game show.
There he is, the brains of the operation, my son Sam, joining us on the post-game show. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mindell, Samuel Piles-Mindell, and Dave Manouk with you to wrap up this Winnipeg Jets season. Dave M, what do you think? Is Sam a good replacement for Ezzy? He doesn't knock over any lights. He's pretty responsible. He shows up when he says to show up. What do you think? You're on mute. He knows how to unmute himself too, Dave. Maybe he'll teach you some lessons.
Well, Sam, you were supposed to unmute me there so I could speak. But yes, no, I think he looks good, Drew. He looks better than his dad. So I think you better be careful. He might be replacing you very soon.
He's certainly got a better head of hair than his dad.
That's
as well.
for sure.
Yeah, smarter and cuter and everything else along those lines. Okay, buddy. See you in a bit, okay? There you go. Oh, let me tell you, we went bowling earlier today, and he's a bowling expert as well. Starting him off at a young age. Those are the sports that the Mindell clan is better at: bowling, golf.
Five or 10.
Five. We start off young, and sure there were bumpers, but those bumpers are just he didn't have to use the bumpers, but they were there for me. I got to make sure they keep the ball out of the gutter, that sort of thing.
Well, it's along with your mind, that's where it usually is.
Yeah, there you go. Sam in, as Jeff said here, Sam in for Ezzy and already doing a phenomenal job. Ezzy on waivers at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Absolutely. You're right about that, Jeff. You're right about that. Everybody else. Tough Duck Toques. We got to give those away right now,
Yes.
courtesy of our friends at Tough Duck. I'm going to give away 2 Toques because, well, why not? It's Chaos, game 82. In KFC, we trust. Great comment here, Eric Calmry, which has been a very funny nickname I've enjoyed for most of this season. Has been such a delight to watch in net this season. Has proved he has the chops to be an excellent goaltender in the NHL. We're going to give one to In KFC We Trust. We're also going to give one a Lifetime Achievement Award for this season to Mal Porris. So In KFC We Trust and Mal Porris. Send me an email, drew@illegalcurve.com. You can slide into my DMs on Twitter @ICDrew. We'll hook you up with a couple toques from our friends at Tough Duck. And, maybe we'll talk to our friends at Tough Duck, see if there's something they want to give away on the Saturday show as we keep that going throughout the course of the rest of the off season as things move into the silly season of trades, free agency, coaches, all that draft lottery, all that interesting stuff. So you can be sure to stay with us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show and the Illegal Curve YouTube channel all throughout the off season, Mr. Manuk. You're still on mute.
Oh, well, what can you do? You know what? I was trying to change the overlay because a certain Drew was so busy that he was getting so excited to be giving away 2 Toques. He still had the old the Betway up there. I was like, well, now it's time to switch. Then I inadvertently switched it to a StreamYard one. So that was on me, and then I was still muted.
And then you switched it to the Illegal Curve hockey show one, not even the Illegal Curve post-game show one.
Oh, well,
so I picked up after you here.
All right.
There
I
you
appreciate
go,
that. Well, unfortunately, I spent the entire commercial break trying to download all the fantastic photos from Alexander James. I got to give Alex a lot of credit. He's taken photos for us all season long. He's just been phenomenal. Great photos almost every single game. Does the Moose game, even shot a nice game for us. So Alex James, a heck of a great photographer. Give him a follow. Alexander Neff on Instagram. We tag every one of the photos with him as photo credit. So if you're interested in his stuff, he takes some great stuff. And we got to give Alex a big shout out. Another big shout out, Jake Baris. He's been writing ice stuff for us. We're going to have a recap of the Winnipeg Ice first round series against the Raiders. That's going to go up on the site in a couple of hours. So he'll be covering the second round of the Ice, which is getting started this week. And of course, we've got the Moose playoffs coming up. So I'll have that covered for illegalcurve.com.
And the Moose did a very nice job yesterday afternoon with, of course, their final game of the regular season before they get into the playoffs. Don't say a word, Dave M.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Now you can say a word, Dave M.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I will say something now. So the Moose, they were going in against an Abbotsford Canucks team that they beat down essentially 7-1. I already went into that game on Thursday. I talked about that before, so I won't go into it again. But the truth is that, we want to see what they were going to do in terms of consistency. Abbotsford has some bangs, bumps, and bruises. They've got some guys missing from the lineup, some guys up with the Canucks. So, it wasn't certain exactly what they were going to look like on Saturday, but yet it was going to be a good crowd. I think they were over 7,000 tickets sold. So they were very happy with the tickets. I mean, obviously not everybody showed up, but it was a very good crowd, military appreciation game. So the Moose were wearing a specialty jersey, like a light blue.
Sharp looking jersey.
Yeah, it looked good. I didn't know how it was to see. I could see it on AHL TV when I was watching replays, but it was another one of those really cool specialty jerseys the team does so well. So yeah, it was a good start for the Moose. They came out. They had some lineup changes. It wasn't as many obviously as the last game. CJC's Evan Poli, Dean Stewart came out. Harold Eagle, Christian Veselainen, and Simon Lundmark came back in. Mikkel Burden got the start again. And Harold Eagle proved to be useful getting back into the lineup. He scored off some good work from Cole Meyer, Nicholas Jones. As he asked Daniel Fink about Meyer and Jones, and Evan Poli is usually on that lineup, but it's become a little bit plug and play. You can kind of get, if Evan Poli is not there, because I'm assuming they're resting him, they put Eagle in. He just looked good with them. He puts the first goal home. Moose have a quick 1-0 lead. And then just to show kind of emblematic of how much of a team these guys are, Wyatt Bongiovanni, who's the ELC that the Jets signed out of college, out of Quinnipiac. He was getting pummeled in front of the Abbotsford net. And so then Jimmy Olney, the captain, who's not big, but he's tough as nails, on his birthday, no less, he comes flying in, starts doesn't want to let a rookie on his team get treated that way, and he just starts cracking heads. Moose ended up with a power play. Mikey Estimont, he scores. I think it was his 16th of the season, so he makes them pay. And so now suddenly it's 2-0, and then sure enough, these guys keep on rolling. Meyer and Jones. Meyer seals the wall, feeds it out in front to Nicholas Jones. So now it's 3-0, and the Moose are rolling. And the most important thing is the crowd is loving it, right? Like I said, it's a good crowd, over 6,000 for sure that were in attendance, and everybody's pumped up, everybody's excited, and it's that's what, from the Moose perspective, you want the fans excited, you want them going into the postseason, thinking, hey, we should be supporting this, we should be watching this. So the Moose did their part on the ice because they were fantastic. Jet Wu, the Winnipegger who plays, I think he was a 2018 second rounder for the Canucks. He ended up having a penalty shot, which was not something you see every day, but Mikhail Burden was up to the task. He maintained the 3-0 lead. And then Mikey Estimont kept rolling, and he scored to make it 4-0 on just an absolute rocket. Nice pass by Ville Heinola. And then he finished off the hat trick, which was a nice way to end the game. It's the first hat trick since Seth Griffith had one in December of 2019. So hasn't been too many hat tricks because this team doesn't score that many goals. But Mikey Estimont, who's a bit of a sniper, he picked up used Daniel Torgerson, the 2020 second rounder. He kind of used him as a feint, and then he went upstairs on DiPietro. So it was 5-0. And then just to finish the game off, Christian Vesalainen, 6-0 into the shorthanded, puts it 5-hole on DiPietro and makes it a 6-0 game. And coincidentally, the second intermission promo was, how many goals would have to be scored for everybody to win pancakes? The answer was none. It was an instant winner. So even though the Moose probably would have fulfilled it, scoring 2, maybe they could have had a third, everybody went home with pancakes anyway. So everybody went home happy. I had some tweets at me saying, well, now I have dinner tonight or whatever. So, all in all, very good way to end the regular season. This is, like I said, this Moose team is rolling 41 wins, second most they've ever had in this 2.0 franchise history. And the truth also is that they probably would have finished with more because the team that had 42 played 76 games, and this team only played 72. So the regular season now is done of the Moose, and now you're going on to the postseason. That starts Friday in Milwaukee. They do a Friday-Saturday contest, and I was working to find out. I texted one of the Moose guys to find out if it's actually on TSN, but seems like it may be, and if it is, that's great for people. And then, hey, maybe we have to reconsider whether we're going to do a post-game show. If people are going to be watching, maybe they need a place to discuss it after the game.
That'll be something we'll obviously have to discuss over the next few days to see if there's if just when you thought we were out, they pull us back in as it pertains to these post-game shows. So there you have it.
Hold on. Breaking news. I just got a text saying.
Yeah.
Sources say. So I don't know what that means, but it would seem to indicate that it's being confirmed that, the games will be on TSN. So you won't have to rely on my clipped videos sent out off of AHL TV. You can watch the games yourself, and we can discuss.
That's something to stay tuned for. If we'll have some news regarding that, the Moose playoff games on TSN, and of course, all your most extensive Moose coverage and ice coverage on illegalcurve.com. Another quick note before we wrap up the post-game show, the Winnipeg Jets have a 1.5% chance to win the draft lottery, but because of the new rules regarding the draft lotteries, teams can only move up a maximum of 10 spots. So the highest the Jets can pick. They finished 14th in terms of the odds of the draft lottery. The highest they can pick will be 4th overall at the upcoming NHL draft, and that would be if they won the draft lottery. So
you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance they can pick 4th. Not a great chance. A 1.5% chance. There's 0% chance they can pick any higher than that. So there you go. That's what the latest news regarding the draft lottery. Before we wrap up this post-game show, we want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who've made the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Grid Park. We've asked you to do this all season long. We ask you to do it again and again and again and again. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. This may or may not be our final post-game show. We'll see on that front. But if it is, and we're not going anywhere Saturday morning, so you guys all know that. And we'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for a end-of-season wrap-up show. So put that in your calendars. But for the last 82 games during this season, myself, Dave Manouk, the absent Ezra Ginsburg, and special guests have been here to talk about the Winnipeg Jets games. Good and bad, happy and sad. We've been here. More importantly than us being here, y'all have been here. And some of you have been here before the games have even ended. And some of you are even here before the games have even started. And that's fantastic. And on behalf of Dave and on behalf of Ezzy, we tremendously appreciate the support. Because truly, if there was nobody watching, I'm not sure we'd be doing these things. But you guys are here. Guys and gals, you're here. You're here all the time. You're here Saturday mornings. You're here whenever we pop up with a random show in the off season. You'll be here tomorrow night. We know that. We thank you all so very much for the constant, consistent support. We do it because we have fun with one another and we have fun with y'all. And sometimes there's some trolling, but that's okay. And sometimes there's some disagreements, and that's okay too. We do it because it's a passion. We do it because it's a need. We do it because it's a want. So on behalf of Dave Manouk and behalf of Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. Before you go, smash the like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Rate us, review us, leave us a comment. Tell your friends, tell your family that the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, and maybe even these Manitoba Moose playoff games, and of course on Saturday morning, and again tomorrow night, the best place to be is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, illegalcurve.com, and anything to do with Legal Curve, our Instagram, our Facebook, and our Twitter feed. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. For Dave Manouk, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.